I thought I was about to lose everything the moment Sophia Justice called me into her office, because people like me don't get second chances in companies like hers to get replaced. The air inside her glass office felt colder than usual, the kind of silence that makes your heart beat louder than your thoughts. I had only been working there for 6 months, barely surviving paycheck to paycheck, trying to hold my life together after everything fell apart. So when her assistant told me, "The CEO wants to see you," now, my hand started shaking before I even reached the door. I had heard stories about Sophia, just as strict, untouchable, emotionally distant, a woman who fired employees without blinking, a woman who built an empire from nothing and trusted no one. And now she wanted to see me, personally. As I stepped inside, she didn't look up immediately. She was reviewing something on her tablet, her expression unreadable, her presence overwhelming. I stood there, waiting, my mind racing to every mistake I could have made. Was it the report I submitted late, the client call I struggled with, or maybe I just wasn't good enough? Finally, she looked up, her eyes locking onto mine in a way that made it impossible to breathe normally. "Do you know why you're here?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp. I swallowed hard and shook my head. "No, ma'am." The word ma'am felt formal, but I didn't dare say anything else. She leaned back in her chair, studying me like I was a puzzle she couldn't quite solve. "You've made several errors this month," she said, listing them one by one, each word hitting harder than the last. My chest tightened. This was it. I was going to be fired. I could already imagine packing my things, walking out while everyone pretended not to stare. But then something unexpected happened. She paused. Not the kind of pause that builds tension, but the kind that feels different, almost hesitant. "You stayed late last week," she added suddenly. I blinked, confused. "Yes, I had to finish the client proposal." She nodded slowly. "And you helped the new intern, even though it wasn't your responsibility." I didn't understand where this was going. I just thought she needed help, I replied honestly. For a moment, something softened in her expression. Just for a second, but I saw it. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have imagined, was that this wasn't the first time she had noticed me. She had seen me weeks ago, staying late after everyone left, fixing a mistake that wasn't even mine. She had seen me give my lunch to a security guard who forgot his wallet. She had seen me treat people like they mattered in a place where most people only cared about power. But instead of saying any of that, she leaned forward again, her CEO persona returning. "Kindness doesn't fix mistakes," she said firmly. My heart dropped. "But it does reveal character." I looked at her, confused, trying to understand what she meant. "You're not fired," she said, and I felt like the world stopped spinning for a second. "You're being reassigned." Reassigned? That didn't sound much better. My thoughts were still racing when she continued. "You'll be working directly under me from now on." My eyes widened. "Under you?" She nodded. "I need someone I can trust, someone who doesn't pretend." I didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. Working under the CEO meant pressure, expectations, no room for failure. Days turned into weeks, and something strange began to happen. Sophia Justice wasn't what everyone thought she was. Behind closed doors, she wasn't cold, she was careful. She asked questions, listened to answers, and sometimes she smiled. Not the kind of smile you show in meetings, but a real one, small and rare. And every time she did, it felt like seeing a completely different person. One night, we were both still in the office, long after everyone had left. I was finishing a report when I noticed her struggling with something on her laptop. "You can go home," she said without looking at me. But I didn't. Instead, I walked over. "Do you need help?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, clearly not used to asking for anything. Then she nodded. We worked together in silence for a while, until she suddenly said, "Why do you always help people?" The question caught me off guard. I shrugged slightly, because I know what it's like when no one does. She didn't respond immediately, but I could feel the weight of her silence. When I finally looked at her, her expression had changed, again softer, almost vulnerable. That was the moment everything started to shift, because what I thought was just a strict CEO watching my performance was actually someone noticing me in ways I never expected. And what I thought was the beginning of the end of my career was actually the beginning of something I wasn't ready to understand yet. The distance between us started disappearing in the smallest, most unexpected ways. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't obvious, but it was real. Sophia Justice began trusting me with more than just work. She trusted me with moments. Late-night conversations turned into quiet confessions. She told me about the pressure of running a company alone, about the people who only saw her as powerful but never as human. And for the first time, I saw the weight she carried behind that perfect image. One evening, after a long day, she surprised me. "Come with me," she said, grabbing her coat. I followed her without questioning, and we ended up at a small cafe far from the city lights. It was simple, peaceful, nothing like a world. "Why here?" I asked. She looked around and smiled softly. "Because no one knows me here." That answer stayed with me. We sat there for hours, talking like the normal people, not a CEO and an employee. She laughed, genuinely laughed, and I realized how rare that was. At some point, she looked at me and said something I wasn't prepared for. "You make me feel normal." My heart skipped. "That's a good thing, right?" I asked, half joking. She nodded, but her eyes said more than her words. Then came the twist I never saw coming. A week later, I overheard a conversation that changed everything. Two board members were talking about me. "He's the one she's been watching," one of them said. "She picked him herself." My chest tightened. Watching me, picked me. That's when I realized this wasn't random. The transfer, the attention, the closeness, it was all intentional. That night, I confronted her. "Why me?" I asked, unable to hide the emotions building inside me. For the first time, she didn't answer immediately. She looked at me not as a CEO, but as someone struggling to say something real. "Because you're different," she finally said. "Because you're kind, even when no one is watching." I shook my head slightly. "That's not enough to change someone's life." She stepped closer, her voice softer than ever. "It was enough to change mine." Silence filled the room. But it wasn't heavy, it was honest. "I thought you wanted to fire me," I admitted quietly. She smiled, a little embarrassed. "I know," she said. "I might have made it seem that way." Then she took a deep breath, something I had never seen her do before speaking. "The truth is, I've liked you for a long time. I just didn't know how to say it." Everything inside me frowned for a second. The powerful CEO, the woman everyone feared, had been hiding something so simple and so human. I let out a small laugh, shaking my head in disbelief. "You had me terrified for weeks," I said. She laughed too, a sound that felt warmer than anything else. "I'm sorry," she replied. "I guess I'm not very good at this." But she was wrong, because in that moment, she wasn't a CEO trying to control everything. She was just Sophia, someone who took a chance on kindness and found something real in return. And maybe, just maybe, I did too. What started as fear turned into trust. What started as distance turned into something closer than either of us expected. And what I thought was the worst day of my life became the beginning of the happiest one.